Sorry about that. If you notice something move, yeah, because I have to pick up a call just now as I'm recording through my phone, so I just broke out from the screen. You notice that I just got cut off just now. But anyway, continue the point. Yeah. So this note is again, I'll repeat again, is the People's Republic of China, People's Bank of China, 10 yuan. The smaller denominations are kind of hard to find actually. In the first series and the second series for this type of note, there are two division of notes of this, two series of this notes. Other than this one is the higher denomination, which only released a really short period of time, so the quantity was even less being distributed to the public. And by the time when hyperinflation hit China at that kind of denomination where like 50,000 yuan, they changed their denomination to a newer series where a new China banknote was issued, which is revalued. So that's why those kind of higher notes are very rare to find and really very expensive. And again, when they do the first series and the second series, it was in a period where the government is planning transition, where all these countries were so diverse, including the system they were using. They were trying to unify it slowly and gently so that it doesn't create chaos. And eventually they succeeded, which is where you see the third series. Until today, the current series were much more completely unified systems. One of the systems that is distinguishedly different is the regions. Now, if you live in the around Shanghai, the south side of China, the calendar they're still using is like this: Republic year 38. So they're saying it's the Republic year 38, which this calendar was used during Republic of China. And if you go to Taiwan, technically this in their banknote, you see their banknotes or their calendars in that region, in Taiwan, they will still use this. So currently it's the year of the Republic. So if it's already past 1911, so it's 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15. It's 115 year of the Republic, to which is equivalent to Gregorian calendar is 2026. So if you see Taiwan note that is printed this year, it will be written here, year of the Republic 115. So, and then if you go to country region areas like Inner Mongolia, most of the banknotes, especially the back of the banknote, will be written in Mongolian scripts or Mongolian language. If you go to Xinjiang province, you will see a really more Arabic words on it. So it caters the community and the people who are living there to recognize the banknote's legitimacy, and it's much more giving a smoother transition. Not letting the public know the government has been changed and is now a communist government centralized in Beijing, blah blah blah, etc. etc. Rather than a very hard and immediate change where people just create more chaos. China at that time learned that we shouldn't need chaos. We give it a little more room and time for them to understand there is a new boss in the country, so they need to, we're gonna give them the grace period of smooth transition to the new management of the country. So those days, this is why you see many varieties of this type of banknotes in those regions. So of course, these are for the main proper area of China, which is almost like Hubei, Shanghai, Guangzhou, this area. They will use this kind of banknotes. High population, that means they have higher distribution of this quantity of this note. So this note, to be honest, not really expensive compared to other denominations. Yeah, compared to other denominations, which in a different language or catering the local language of outskirts of proper China, like the Mongolians and the the Uyghurs in Xinjiang province, and so forth, etc. So those notes, because the population is much lower, the quantity of the notes is lesser, need to be printed to be used. So the quantity is small, so that is why the price is high. So it was fortunate I got this note in the auction in a very reasonable price. I won't say very cheap, but reasonable price. Probably I'll pay it less. Probably in discounted prices about maybe 30% or so. It wasn't really that hard. So yeah, People's Republic of China, People's Bank of China, 10 yuan, 1949. Yeah, first series, 10 yuan. Yeah. Okay, onward to my notes. Now this one, I didn't buy this note. I got it from the convenience store. 1 ringgit, my country, Malaysia, 1 ringgit. 1 ringgit. Or we call it RM, means ringgit Malaysia. A lot of people do not know what it means. So yeah. Why is it so distinctly? It costs what face value is 1 ringgit, which is in US cents is only 25 cents. In today's value is 25 US cent for 1 ringgit. What is so uniquely, I got this just exactly the face value, and look at the number 1919191. Basically it's a binary or repeated numbers. Only 2 types of numbers in there, only 1 and a 9, and repeated by 1919191. Can you imagine getting this such note from a convenience store? You know, when you paying something and then you get something back in as a change, you know, and then you get a change and you look at number, oh my, 1919191. Binary number. Normally as a collector, you only buy binary, you only can find a binary number is you go for the auction house, which there's a lot of people already got those notes on their hands. Normally a lot of this type of notes or solid number notes like 00001, 00002, or AAAA, blah blah blah, those kind of things, you know, binary number, ladder number, reverse ladder numbers, and this type of things, you only can get it during when they print out. When the bank prints out those notes, a lot of those officers already pick those notes out from circulation, and they will keep it and then they'll auction out. You know, Bank Negara does that. Truthfully, our own national bank, or I presume so, would do that, and they pick it up and then throw it out into the auction as a way of making profit. Side hustle. Maybe I don't want to say in such a crude way, let's make it sound illegal, but I mean that's how they procure those notes. Take it out and they put a certified, properly encapsulated, and then has the bank governor sign as authenticated this note is genuine and so forth, and they just supply it in the auction, which jack up the price really high. I saw some of those solid numbers, especially those with solid 8. 1 ringgit could fetch about more than 10,000 ringgit, 20,000 ringgit. I just ballistically just say that number. But most probably, if you have people who are not a high roller there, if you're lucky, maybe 8,000 ringgit, or you know, 5 to 8,000 ringgit. But definitely it's in the 1,000 ringgit marks, in market value. So insanely, this kind of notes, they are currently in face value as it is 1 ringgit, but yet people are just get this kind of notes and sell it in a really high price. Actually right now I can sell this one, probably I'll be selling at 500 ringgit to 1,000 ringgit for this note, but I'm not gonna sell it. For those of you out there, before you comment, I'm just telling you, I'm not selling this note. I'm gonna keep it. Probably I'm considering grading it for fun. I know it's just 1 ringgit. Grading it is absolutely moronic, actually, because I'm paying more money just to grade this note. What are you gonna get in return? Probably the personal collection. I don't think I will be grading it, but I'll be keeping it as a reminder that, oh, I got this note. I didn't bought this note. I didn't buy it from auction with hundreds and thousands of ringgit. I just got this note from a convenience store as a change. So something really, really lucky happened this week. that unfortunately got this note. So for those of you out there collecting banknotes, if you are lucky, when you go to the ATM machine or you go to your local shops, when you transaction with cash and get your change back, always look out your notes. Look at your notes. They might return you notes like these, notes that are replacement notes, Z. In Malaysia we use Z because Thomas de la Rouge put that system in there. So you might find replacement notes. We just start with the word Z, ZA, ZB, ZC, in a good condition. And I'm actually anticipating the banks and other or the shops start to get this current governor's signature in a replacement note. I'm waiting for that to happen. Right now in the market, nobody knows whether this series of this governor who took over last year as our new governor, which this note came out last year, has replacement note, because every governor as we went through have replacement notes. We are just waiting. Unfortunately, I'm waiting for this one. When are they coming out? When's the ZA for this governor Rashid Ghaffur is going to happen? I have not seen it in the public. If you get it in public, keep it. You do not know how much maybe it could be made of a lot of value in money in the next 10, 20 years or not. These are kind of the fun part. Keeping it and wait and see. A lot of the notes that I missed when I was a kid, when I was in elementary school, a lot of those 50 ringgit, 10 ringgit, 100 ringgit, those days was just a face value of 10, 50 and 100 ringgit, now worth thousands and thousands of ringgit. Okay? The difference between ZA, ZB, ZC is tremendously different, because once you know that that specific note's prefix of replacement notes are small quantity, the price just shoot up like a rocket. That is the game right now. Collecting the contemporary or current banknote, you do not know whether there's a small quantity, you do not know whether there's a high value, you don't know where it is. Just keep it and wait it in time. Put it in a safe or somewhere where there's no UV lights and so forth, or moisture, high moisture areas. Just keep it. 10 years later, you'll be surprised. Maybe that note jumps 1,000%, or maybe it just slowly grow to probably at 100% increase, or 200 or 300% of its face value. And no matter how it is, you're gonna get it good, and you keep it in great condition. This note is in good condition. For a note that I got it from convenience store, it is a good note. There's no fold. This is still, I would just say, it's uncirculated condition, freshly out from cashier, I would say, and I got it, and now it's not going to be used in the public. It will be stay in my album, in my collection. There you have it. 1 ringgit, Malaysia, Bank Negara Malaysia, 1 ringgit with a unique prefix number UW1919191. Onward to the next country. Well, this will be Sri Lanka. Both of these notes are actually Sri Lanka. So this one, I actually specifically hunting for the generation. I actually have the other generation. Actually, this has a many generations, but this is one of it. Sri Lanka 100 rupee note. If you have a prefix of this kind of note below 100, let's just say below 100, double digit, just a rule of thumb. If you can't remember specifically, even I can't remember specifically, if you get less than 100, starting 01 to 99, the note material itself is unique. Okay, it is a thin paper. It is really thin when you hold it physically, really thin, and it's stated that it is lacquered paper. I don't know what it means, but probably because the paper is thin, to reduce the cost of the paper, they had to strengthen all the ink or the print onto the paper. Make sure it's thick and secure. So they have to put a lacquer layer on it. That's probably what it means, because when you touch it and feel it and look at it, they all these prints, they don't look different from those unlacquered ones. The only biggest difference when you physically feel the paper itself, this one is really thin, and when it's description in the pic or the catalogs, they really say thin paper. This is really feel thin paper. Okay, really it does. So I was very curious about it, and I wanted to collect these first edition notes of Sri Lanka in this kind of series, which is lacquered and thin paper, because they only issued that one part, which is double prefix, like U01 to U99. Just as a rule of thumb, it's not specifically that way. You can refer specifically into the catalog books, they will tell you that, or you go to the website www.banknote.ws. you can find Sri Lanka. It tells you what number they are. I use that as a reference point. So, but for me, at the mine, if not, I do not know, I just say U dash, have double digit at the bottom. That's it. It's a thin paper with lacquered coating. Okay. Beyond that, for future, after this one, the future note for this one, they actually become spontaneously grow really big, extremely big numbers. Okay, 3 digit. Those, all of them are the same, thick paper without lacquer coating. Probably is because it's the longevity of the ink on the paper. So I think eventually the Central Bank of Sri Lanka decided to change from a thin paper to a thick paper as a way of deciding the cost and effective of the longevity of the notes. Probably they do that, but knowing the quantity wise, physically, of the material, which is thin and lacquer coating, these quantities are much more smaller. And if you are investing it, you're gonna collect them uniquely. These are much more unique than the current notes they are printing on this one, which is a thicker paper, and is not lacquer coating. There's no lacquer coating. This one has lacquer coating and is limited from 01 to 99, or depends on what the catalog shows. Okay, officially. So that's one of the reasons why I bought this note. And Sri Lanka, this series, the front is landscape, the back is portrait. It shows culture. All the series has a cultural series. Dance, musicians are at the back. So that's one of the things that I really like this note as a design. So I think design for right handler. Yep, for right hand. If you're right hand, when you turn the notes, is much easier than the left-hander. Because if left-handers will do this, it'll be upside down. So they properly designed the notes to be for right-handers. So if you're a left-hander, tough luck. You always flip upside down this note. So language-wise, there is English and Sinhalese words in there. So it's not Hindi, it's not Indian, it's Sinhalese note. So is uniquely the region of the current language and the people, other than the Tamil. So yeah, 100 rupees from Sri Lanka. The other one from Sri Lanka that I got is a bigger denomination. This is the second largest denomination, 1,000 rupees. Now the largest denomination I don't have. Probably I'll be looking for it. May not be in good condition because they're much higher. The highest denomination is much more expensive. 1,000 rupee is the second highest denomination, and this is actually thick paper. 3 number series, so it's actually thick paper. And based on the price that I paid for it and the condition of the colors that you can see, especially the white parts, they are still bright and white. Normally it is wear and tear, they go become gray or yellowish color. This is, to me, is still worth the money, and about that is why I bought it. The 5,000 one, I cannot find it. Probably I'll get it in the money exchange shops, because they do deal with a higher denomination, and they probably have a better quantity, and you're paying at a market price. So there you can one way to get it. It's still current use of the note. So this note, physically I can feel this note is very thick, so there's no lack of coating. So you don't need it like any conventional notes. Let me put that straight up that note. So yeah, green color, one of my favorite colors of the note. This kind of green is really nice, especially the gradient they play with the light green to dark green. This is a really beautiful kind of green usage on the background and so forth, and the dancers as the contrast of the color, really beautiful. That's 1,000, and then the front, the green is superb. This type of tone of green is one of my favorite kind of green. I mean, it's really suitable kind of green. 1,000 rupees. Not much I could say, is just that it's a kind of normal note, 1,000 rupees. A lot of the Sri Lankan banknotes, as far as I see in the catalog book, looking at it and observing it without studying it in great details, they like to use a lot of their motifs representing nature, representing their culture, identity of nature, identity of culture, and infrastructure. This is one good example about infrastructure. The last one is also showing infrastructure, nature itself, and the back is culture. Same thing here, nature, infrastructure, and culture. Three of the things that identify the base that you should use to identify your country on a banknote in the right way. I think Sri Lanka, when they put the objective, what they want on their banknote by the government or the central bank requests, I think they're doing it really, really well. Of course, now if you notice in EU, they have decided to design a new note altogether. So they have 10 design finalists from number 1 to number 10. They have already presented it into the world. They want people's opinions and all voting and so forth. I already did my vote. I share my opinion to scale 1 to 5. What do you think of that note? They'll ask you the questionnaires. You can go to their web page and so forth to find out. You can cast your vote. Actually, what notes do you like? For me personally, in the European Union, I like number 5. It's much more proper. It has the map of the European Union, the map of the EU or Europe continent. Across the Europe continent, they have the all the things that I find the design much more mature, much more neutral, and the portrait of the effigies on the note is of right people. It should be cultured people that have contributed to the world. People like Mozart, Beethoven, Madame Curie. Actually, the Madame Curie one is one of my favorite one, actually, of a note that contributed science, that understanding of radiation, that at least it jumped to Einstein that would create nuclear. Without Madame Curie, we would not have Einstein talking and discussing about nuclear energy and so forth, etc. Everything has a chain reaction, and Madame Curie, if I'm not mistaken, she's a Polish person and then married to a French, so it's kind of already contributing across Europe by having lived in 2 different countries in Europe at that time and contributed science which accepted widely across Europe, So Madame Curie is one of those peoples that I find it really important and should be there. Maybe the next person I think should have like Da Vinci, Da Vinci, obviously, is very Italian. Its basis in Italy, but it did contribute to the world, to the Renaissance age. Or Michelangelo. A lot of the people during the Renaissance eras are very pronounced. Of course, I disagree if they put somebody who is a conqueror, or if they put Charlemagne and so forth. Those are very redundant and very opposite to what European Union is. Luckily, they didn't do that. Thank God for that. They chose people who have basically contributed in science, arts, or culture. Those are the things that I felt very important for EU, and when they're doing that, I find it very, really correct implication of the design before I even approve it. So among all of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I find that some of them are quite boring, very neutral, and some of them are boring until the point it looks like a person designing is actually from Denmark, reviving Netherlands, reviving a Netherlands design after 1980s banknotes. It's horrible. I don't like it, actually. Those notes looks very cartoonish. There's some notes really I have opposed it. But number 5 is actually one of my favorite. So if you go out and vote into the website, go to the website and look it for yourself. EU new redesigned banknotes. See option 5. Or some of them you write in alphabet A, B, C, D, E. Option E. I believe that is number 5, actually. It's somewhere number 5. It's one of my favorite ones. So, that is all for the notes I have. The last one I have is kind of contradict to what my principle in my collection. Again, I'm very flexible. But yet I still have my principle in guiding on buying what should be in my collection. What should I buy in my collection? So here we go. United States. My very first United States of America fractional currency. What is fractional currency? Well, fractional currency is actually all the banknotes they print out is in cents. No larger than $1 US. So the largest fractional currency is actually 50 cents or half a dollar. Normally when they do cents, it's always minted in coins. But why did they print in paper at that period? Now again, every banknote do tell stories, and there is a reason of it. One of the biggest reasons why they print this note, this 50 cent, rather than minted in a coin as it should be by principle, is because it was during the Civil War. United States is striking each other. From the north, the United States, and the south was the Confederate States of America, pro-slave versus anti-slave state. So in the northern states, or whatever remained, there is not did not secession towards the Confederates, and they still align themselves with the United States of America. Those that at that time, even when you pay, you pay things in cents. So a lot of transactions going through with the coins and so forth. So they are made of metal. So when they're made of metals, the war efforts require those metals. So you have a debacle situation. Okay, we don't have a proper economy because nobody can do transaction, because we need all the materials that are used to make coins into bullets, guns, cannons, etc. War machines for the war effort. Okay, they were desperate for this material, so the metal became really valuable asset for the military hardware. So what did the Treasury Department did at that time is, let's convert all the cash, the coins, into paper, creating a fractional currency. And it was only printed during the period when they're having a civil war. It did not last all the way up to today because there was no severity of the war. So it was only uniquely printed during the Civil War period. Half of the country was divided, and half of the resources of the manpower of the country was divided. So at that time, every material counts. So that's why they created the fractional currency. This is the second series fractional currency, and it's not even an actual note that is used by the public. My principle that if you watch my videos or my long and weighted conversation, I do always tell people that I don't collect specimen notes. I don't collect or buy proof notes. That is my principle. Correct. But I also do put in a special clause to myself. I am flexible. If I see a note that is in good price, and it is in worth it price, and it is uniquely difficult to find kind of note, I will try and get it. You know what I'm saying? I'll try and get it. And thus, this is my action from that principle overrides to from my flexibility. I got this note. Okay. Now, if you look at the Freeburg catalog book, this note do exist. These specimens. That's why it's Freeburg number 1314. When you see 1314A, 1314B, 1314C, those three variations, those are the actual notes that were used by the public or the masses. Actually, I'm supposed to get those notes based on my principle, but they are not in the auction, so I do not know. But in the Freeburg book, all those notes has value. If you got an uncirculated note, they're worth thousands of US dollars. On the other hand, if you look at a Freeburg without the alphabet 1314 only, there is no price tag there, but it's just written in the note there. This note only exists as specimen. So here it is, as specimen. Those real notes, and they should not have number. The back print of this note should not have any numbers at these four corners, because the A series, variation A, variation B, variation C, for this 50 cent, they are coded in the four corners with a gold color kind of print. If you notice when you shine, a lot of times I look at the photos or the scan, why do they have these weird circles on the portrait or the effigies of the president of the United States, the first president of the United States, George Washington? It looks awkward, but actually it's kind of like coated like a, how to say this, it's kind of coated like gold around it. When you look at it, the note as it's in real life rather than on a book or illustration, when you look at the note itself, it glows like shimmering gold. I don't know whether it's real gold, but it is, to be honest, at that time in 1860, this is the security features preventing counterfeiting this kind of note. You have to have this kind of shimmering gold kind of thing over it. So they put it right here, and of course on the 50 word is also shimmering, if you can see it, but over the darkness it'll be very dark color. And I don't know whether you can look at it under the light, but I can. There's actually a watermark inside here on the paper. There's watermark. So this is the front, observe, and this is the reverse or the back, the front and the back of the note. So it's kind of like a proof, but actually it is considered as a specimen note. What's the difference between a specimen note and a proof note? A proof note is still draft. Okay, it is still a draft on the design process. Then they use proof. Then before draft, they have progressive prints stage. Before that, you will have essay notes. Essay notes are normally done by the engravers or the designer of the notes in color pencil or in paint before even reaching engravers. Those are called essay notes, and when they design the essay notes, it can be any way. Normally in the old days, they use pencil, pen, shading colors to present the essay notes to the clients. Some might go even further. They custom made the engravers and they print engraving. so that you get an actual visualization that is what is the final product going to look like before they initiate the mass printing. So those are the stages of notes. This note is actually after the proof has been approved, and they want to test run the print if they are successful in the print, or need to modify the printer or the engravers, etc., so that the note can run smoothly and print out massively for the public to use. That is where it becomes a specimen note. It is a final round before approval, and normally the specimen notes are used to distribute. If you are talking about today's specimen notes, it is used as a reference note for the bank tellers. That's right. Every bank tellers or every commercial bank, when they go to cashiers, every branch, actually it should be every branch, but I don't think so. They do, because and so forth. They will have a sample of a genuine note reference point, showing what is the security feature, how it feels like, what's the size, the actual note. Those are called under specimen notes, so that they are used to identify whether the note is counterfeit, fake note, or whatever. Okay, it is used as a reference, and that's where a lot of people try to get those notes, the specimen notes. And they're worth a lot of money because it's not meant for the public to use, because specimen notes are actually equivalent to authentic notes. The only difference is there's no serial numbers, or the serial numbers is a dead one, like all zeros, AA, blah blah blah. It doesn't make sense that note would be you circulating it or having it. So those are used for bank tellers to identify whether the note is genuine or not. Normally they have one set per bank, and it still runs till today. If there's a new set or series, they will get it out for the banks so they can use it as a reference tool. And those kind of banknotes are very rare, and it's not meant to be used in the public. So sometimes you might find people who sells specimen notes. They're really expensive because they're not meant to be get. Because once they are redundant, normally they return to the central bank, and the central bank will be burned, or they destroy it, or whatever. But never ever sell to the public, because the risk of security of the notes being manufactured for counterfeits. Because counterfeiters, when they look at the notes, they want to have some specimen notes to tell what are the secret ingredients. Because those specimen notes have a catalog book of each of the items to tell what is the genuine notes have that the public would not know. The public would know a few things, general perspective, but the bank should know all the specs and details of it. And that is one of those methods they used to go fight against the counterfeiters in the old days. Today we still use it, but less likely. Because of security features, we need to tell the public whether the note is more genuine. Because they're able to do that because a lot of the new technologies of the notes are virtually impossible to manufacture into the same quality. That is why a lot of the banks is so brave enough, they just tell, here citizens, this note has security features, holographic here, micro print here. It tells you the whole entire grandmother story of the note's security features, the secrets of the notes. They just blabber it out because they are very confident those notes are impossible to be counterfeit, even though because the technology was expensive to be used and is only licensed to a few people who can manufacture it. So that is one of the reasons that this modern age or contemporary times, they're able to tell the entire public what are the security features. In the old days, they can't, because the technology was widely available. It was more contemporary at that time. So only the material is very hard to make. Either they are very difficult to design, either they are very hard to copy those engraving design motifs, or the material is very expensive to duplicate, the efforts to duplicate it, etc. But everything else accessibility is there. The will to print it, to manufacture a fake one or counterfeit, is another whole lot of question. That is why you always see counterfeiters. They don't counterfeit big notes. They don't counterfeit smaller denomination. They counterfeit a bigger denomination, but they cannot use the big denomination in a huge quantity. That would trigger alarm. The people will start to realize that why are they suddenly all this note come out? So many. Is it the country's rich and somewhat? So there's the questions out there. And this happened actually in Japan. They realized that the percentage of the counterfeit of their 10,000 yen note and 5,000 yen note was much higher. I think it reached a certain percentage, and then the Bank of Japan decided, okay, time to make a new banknotes. That's how you have the many series of designs of banknotes, because somebody were able to pull the gun to make the fake ones, like the genuine. And the race goes on again, and then they have to redesign it and make a manual enhancement to get a step ahead. So kind of like a rat race against the counterfeiters and the genuine makers of the notes. So this is the 50 cent. At that time, 50 cent is a lot of money. Bear in mind, 50 cent is a lot of money. You can buy a lot of stuff. So having to counterfeit 50 cent is also quite valuable. So they have a specimen note like these to show to the teller banks what is the actual note looks like. As you can see behind, it's written here specimen, and specimen, I'm not too sure why this is damaged already. You can't see it. So the front note is much more damaged. The back observed note set is much more clearer in design. There's specimen and a copyright. If I'm not mistaken, this is a full stop or copyright symbol, but I think it's just a full stop for it. Then somebody read a number here. I can't read. There's a dollar sign B. Is it B? BA-CT? I'm not too sure what does this mean. Or ET? Who knows? And then there's some word written here in the middle, which is mirror kind of way of looking at it. I'm not too sure what it is, but yeah, that is something there. Or the more I look at it, this note is I believe is attached to or mounted. Yeah, maybe this note is actually mounted, and this is maybe not mounted. This is mounted on some cardboard or something. That's why it's, some spots are yellow, which is like this should be, and some spots is damn white. That is why you see the word specimen here missing. Yeah, it's missing the gold pigments up here, like these. So yeah. One of my pride and joy for this week, I received is this 50 cent. My very first, probably my only proof 50 cent. United States, printed by the Treasury Department, printed during 1960. If I'm not mistaken, the year is 1963. Yeah, it's written here. Reprinted in a series of 1963. So this is a fractional note, 50 cent. Now, there are other part of history I want to mention about this. Whether it's true or not, I'm not too sure. Probably somebody can explain to me a little more detail, or I'll probably also do my own research later on further to this. Now, I'm just speaking out of my mind, actually, what I have shallowly, naively know, and that's what I want to tell. I want to show what I see at the first glance, what I think of that note. Pragmatic situation based on the knowledge I have, general knowledge of the scenario of the note during that time, during that region, during that era. So those are my figuring out based on history fact reading, not the actual detailed official history of the note. So a lot of this are guessing. If you think that my guess is quite close to what the pragmatic situation of that period, then gold star for me, man. Surely gold star. So yeah, other than the Civil War, I do understand that these notes were supposed to be called a stamp notes. It was supposed to use the technology printed using the stamp system rather than a banknote to compensate the printing loads at that time. There were also people who print stamps. Around that time, in the old days, stamps were considered as a certificate of payment. Most of the time even in my country today, we still use it. We call it stamp duties. That's the word the stamp come from. Stamp duties actually come from you paid the duty and they're certified with a stamp on the deeds or the certificate. That's why they call it stamp duties. And those days, the stamp duties are also made more with a security feature on it. You ask the stamp collectors, they might tell you those entire whole double story. I don't collect stamps, so I'm not too sure. But at that time, when the banknotes were printing, to release the stress from printing by the banknote engravers at the factory, the Treasury Department requested or asked to move this production of the fractional currency to the stamp department. So they're using all the materials, the printing, the resources they have for the fractional currency. They kind of look like the stamps prints. So a lot of times that I hear the word is the fractional currencies were printed like a stamp. That's one of the reasons is to release stress from overloading the print from the factories. So they offload that fractional currency to the stamps, so they can fully utilize the printing factories at the optimal capacity. So a lot of fractional currency were printed by the stamp engravers and printers rather than the banknote printers. But all of them are still legitimate, controlled under the Treasury Department. Without Treasury Department and the Congress approval, this note does not exist. And they exist only during the Civil War period. Because of the material-wise, is every source of material, ore, and so forth to make coins is used for war effort. So they came up with paper currency. Entire cents were used as paper money. 50 cents is the largest one. There are smaller ones, probably 25 cents, 10 cents, 5 cents, 3 cents, 1 cent also, probably. I haven't seen the catalog book, but I do know that 50 cents is a large, unless they have 75 cents as a larger note or so forth. Maybe, but before they reach into a dollar, because a dollar they will become a banknote, a regular banknote. It won't be considered as fractional currency. So yeah. My very first specimen note, 50 cent United States of America, printed in 1863. Both sides a set, front and the back specimen note. And there you have it. That is the banknote I have for this week since my last video on my collection. So if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you have any comments or any criticism or opinions or any extra information, I love to hear it, especially your knowledge to share on why the notes are like that, or why is it this or what. I love to read about it, okay, to understand the notes even further. That is what I like to hear and read about. So if you like this video, do give me a thumbs up. If you wish to see my future videos, do subscribe. I noticed my subscription is actually very stagnant for almost 4 weeks. Probably I have plateaued those enthusiast banknote collectors through my small little window. But anyway, I do this for free, for fun, to inspire others like yourself who watch this video to collect banknotes. Alright? Until then, thank you very much. Have a great day.